Hello, everyone. Can we imagine a world without electricity, without petrol, without diesel? It seems scary. Yes, it is scary. And that is wherein comes energy conservation, and that is wherein comes the question of our sustainability. Friends, the energy market of the world today is a staggering US dollar 20 billion. Imagine what is happening around the world. Why we're talking of energy? Every day in and out for our all our tasks, for all our daily routines, we all need energy. And this is the driving force of the world. Wars are being fought to control the resources which give us energy. We have got number of examples to show wherein people have sacrificed their lives to control the sources of energy. Sustainability is basically surviving for a longer duration of time with the same amount of comfort, with the same amount of energy. And sustainable energy is the amount of energy that meets the provisions of the present without compromising the future. So, sustainable energy strategy is an action plan with measurable milestones and which combine energy efficiency, energy conservation, and ideally replacement of fossil fuel. So much is the importance of energy, so that three of or four of the energy 17 strategic developmental goals by United Nations encompass energy. That is wherein we are there. So goal 7, if you take it into account of the United Nations, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Goal 9 again says build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Goal 12 says ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. And goal 13 again says take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. See what has happened. If you see the history of mankind from the days when if you go back to the villages, hardly any village had electricity when we got independence in 1947. And slowly and slowly, electricity came into the villages. Now, all of the villages are electrified. Hardly any of your equipments were there in the villages, for example, or even in the cities also. If you talk of cities, hardly any house had a television. Refrigerator was a luxury. If you talk of it, if you see around, you will find it out that these things have changed in a larger fashion. What has happened right now is every house has a refrigerator, has one or two televisions, has number of mobile phones to charge, has an induction cooker, has a microwave. What has happened here? The need of energy has grown. Every day it is growing. And you would be surprised to note that the projected figures of energy growth up to 2030 are at the rate of 15% plus. That means we need more and more energy. But how are we going to get it? Are we able to produce more energy? Do we have the resources to harness? We do not. So, my dear sirs, what is to be done? What can be done? What we need to do is we need to conserve energy. And how do we do that? All of us have known it since long that energy is to be conserved, but what to be done? You would have seen your energy bills have been rising. Even the electricity bill that comes to your house every month or every 2 months has been growing at a faster pace. The cost of petrol has risen like anything. So, how do we control? How do we conserve that energy? Even escalating the cost of energy is not preventing us from not using the energy. All of us want comfort. So, what do we do? So, we need to do something which is to be done to conserve energy. The first and foremost thing what we have with us to conserve energy is the electrical switch. We have it in our houses. Whenever you are not there, please switch off the fan, please switch off the light. More so when you are in your offices, because that is wherein the things come into picture. That is wherein people think, Why I am not going to pay the bill? The office is going to pay the bill. Let it be on. So it is not right. So friends, again, your computer screens. When you go to your offices, your computer screens are on at most point of time. Each of the computer screen when it is on is consuming light. All of us have come to such a situation, have come to such comforts when we are switching off the television at night, we switch it off using a remote. We do not switch it off from the main switch. If we do not do that, 2 to 3 watts of power per hour is being consumed by just switching off by remote and not switching off the TV from the main switch. How many televisions will do that? And how many people are doing that? So you can imagine the amount of energy we're going to waste on that. Simple tip. Another tip, the air conditioners. The air conditioners are one of the major guzzlers. And if you keep the temperature of your AC at say around 26, 27 degrees centigrade, it is going to be comfortable to you also and it's going to save a lot of energy. A very small exercise was done in this regard. Uh, in one of the countries abroad, what they did for a small village area, they for a small amount of time, just 1 hour, they gave a message to everybody that we are going to change the temperature of the AC, whatever you are having, by 1 degree. We're going to make it up by 1 degree. In a small village of 300 houses, they were able to save some kilowatt hours of energy in that 1 hour. That is the power of energy. Friends, small measures. How many of us are basically switching off our car or scooter or motorcycle engines when we stop at the red light? Hardly any. That is consuming your petrol, diesel. How many times when we are stuck in traffic, we do not want to switch off our uh, vehicle just because we want to go ahead, just because we want, yeah, if I stop it out round right here, what will happen? Might it not, it might not start. That is the fear, but it happens. So in India, if I talk of it, our energy demands are also growing. And you know, the energy index of a country is the condition which tells us how prosperous or how developed a country is. If we talk of us, our country, our energy density is 1/20th of the world, 1/7th of US, 1/12th of Japan. So these things are basically telling that we have still miles to go. And we have to move to some resources. What has happened is, of the years, we have shifted from the fossil fuel, which is depleting, to the non-conventional sources of energy. We were at some point of time, we were using 70-75% of fossil fuel. Right now, it has come down to around 54%. And the share of renewable has grown up. Share of solar has grown up. Share of wind power has grown up. And the technology has also changed. We have also mentored, or we have also mastered those technologies so as to get more. So basically, we are again trying to sustain with more energy. And energy saving potential, if you talk of it, if I talk of the whole economy as a whole, it is up to 23%. If I talk of agricultural sector, up to 30% of energy can be saved by very small measures. And domestic and commercial, it is up to 20%. So one of the things what we have in picture is that how do we design our buildings? How can we save energy? So for that, the government in our country, in India, has made an energy conservation building code, wherein they say that how you construct a building in a particular area of the country will define the energy consumption of that industry, of that particular building. And we also define what is called as an EPI, Energy Performance Index. If you see today, as of today, our energy performance index of our malls, of our commercial spaces is around 400 kilowatt hours per meter square, whereas the world standard is 120. We have miles to go, dear friends. We have miles to go. So we have got number of examples to show wherein we can save energy. For example, in industries, if I talk of industries, in industrial parlance, what is happening? There are a lot of motors in the industry. What people do, whenever a motor fails, they'll get it rewound. Each time I get a motor rewound, my efficiency reduces by 5%. And I'm paying for the same amount. For similarly, I've got a lot of other options to do. We have to match the size of the motor to the load. In the farm sector also, we can conserve energy by using the solar, or we can use some non-conventional sources. In street lights, more so in our country, if I talk of our city also, we would see lights are on during the day also. If we have timers, if we have the switches, photo sensors, they can be switched off automatically. No need for anything. And it costs a very small amount of money, but it is going to save a lot of it. To find out what energy, what amount of energy we can save, we can do energy audits. Energy audits will tell us what are the areas wherein we need to concentrate or we need to work on so that we can save energy. We can we have to manage the energy, and we have to reduce the pollution. So before how do we do that? Let me tell you the ant philosophy. What do the ants do? The ants, first part, the ants never quit. You would have seen the ants always move in a straight line. Even if you try to divert them, they'll again come back to the same line. They will never quit. If they are headed somewhere, you do whatever you want to do, they'll go to that place. So never quit looking for the ways to get where you want to go. Never forget that there are ways where I can save energy, where I can contribute. Part two, ants think winter all summer. You cannot be naive so as to think summer will last forever. So ants also think that way. And during summer months, ants come out and they'll try to store as much food as they can so that they're able to sustain that winter. We can also store energy so that we can sustain our future. It is important to be realistic and think ahead. We need to find out the targets, fix the targets. For example, in institutions like GADVASU and other institutions, if I'm talking of, we can formulate an energy policy. We can say, today my energy consumption is this much. Next year, I'm going to, with the same amount of facilities, I'm going to reduce it to this much by following certain measures. Third part, ants think summer all winter. So during the winters, the ants remind themselves this is not going to last. Even if there is small scarcity of energy, this is not going to last. We're going to meet it up by energy conservation, by finding out new resources of energy, and we have to stay positive at all times. That is the important. And last part, all that you can possibly, you should do. So ants, you see, it's a very small insect, but it can carry 10 times its weight, and it does so. Even if you see, if you see the ants in a group, what they do, even if there is a big piece of Swedish or something like that, they will gather together and try to push it up. So all of us can put small efforts. We can put small things in between, and we can do small efforts so that we are able to save energy. So let us all do what we can, and we can save more energy. So thank you all very much for patient hearing. Thank you.